you can get 1% better per day, which is actually a big task after you've gotten through a lot of the low-hanging fruit, you'll be 37 times as good at the end of the year.
Welcome to Improvement Show. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Joe Templin. I am a human Kaizen expert and the author of the Amazon Kindle #1 new release, Everyday Excellence.
Could you explain the book a little better, please? What's it about, everything?
Everyday Excellence is meant to be a multivitamin for life, in that it's taken every single day. We have multiple dimensions across our life, our existence. We've got our personal health, our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health, our relationships, our nutrition, all these different components of who we are. And unfortunately, because life gets really busy, things slip. We forget to send the email. We don't necessarily eat well. We don't sleep well. We ignore the important people in our lives. We get distracted and don't get everything done that we have to do at work. If you have kids, I'm a special needs parent, which adds additional layer. Sometimes they come first, or almost all the time they come first. And so how does that affect things? So the whole idea behind Everyday Excellence is in the model on the front, this cool nonlinear growth curve. And so with a quote and discussion, analysis around it, and ultimately an action item to help move us along towards being better, the book Everyday Excellence is designed to help counteract all the chaos and crap and entropy of life and make us a better human being. And looking at some of the mathematics behind it, if you can get 1% better per day, which is actually a big task after you've gotten through a lot of the low-hanging fruit, you'll be 37 times as good at the end of the year.
Wow.
But if you can be 1% better per week, at the end of 2 years, you're 3 times as good as you were. So even at a slower growth rate like that, because once you do the easy things, then you have to work on the harder things that take more complexity and more effort. But if you still maintain that attitude of growth, of doing the hard things to continuously improve yourself, over time, you're going to be in just a completely different stratosphere overall. And your friends will start noticing changes easily within a month from starting on this. And it's just being able to maintain, whether it's maintain the discipline of working out, maintain the discipline of eating right, reading books, listening to educational podcasts like this one, and doing the things that it takes to continue on that growth and expansion and openness mindset that we had when we were little kids that unfortunately we lose too early in life.
Why do you believe we lose that mindset that we have when we're children? Is there any reason you believe that?
One, we start becoming embarrassed because, when you're a little kid, nothing embarrasses you. So this is one of the things that my friends who insist that I'm crazy realize, that my tolerance or my threshold for being embarrassed is incredibly high. So I'm willing to try almost anything to improve. So I failed, big deal. Girl didn't like that pickup line. Oh, well. Oh, you know what? That thing that I attempted at work, that didn't work out that well. It wasted 10 hours, but you know what? I picked up something from it. So there's this embarrassment factor in the way that the school systems are designed. School systems are not designed to develop individuals. School systems are based on the Prussian model, which was designed to create people to work in factories and work and be in the army. So that is the way the educational system is developed, a very linear check the box, as opposed to experiential and experimental mindset, which is what is needed for entrepreneurship and to be able to actually thrive in the multifaceted world that we live
in. As you said, you have this mindset of failure from school, someone that's been to school and it's ingrained in their mind. Is there any way that you could tackle this and alleviate this mindset of being afraid of failure and not really caring about being embarrassed?
One of the things that I found really helps is having some form of art. So like, I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler, so don't think that I'm an artist or anything, but some form of art that you do, whether it's writing like I do, music, sculpture, painting, drawing, something like this, something where you are creating, because that is a process of continuous failure and improvement. So getting comfortable in that space will allow you to be more comfortable failing in other arenas. It helps expand your thinking. It helps you gain a new perspective. And so this is one of the reasons why, if you look at your friends from school, the more artistic ones tend to have more problems with the traditional curriculum because they're developing these other mindsets and skill sets, which are critical for long range success and growth and development. The other thing that I think is really important is that sports is something that unfortunately people aren't doing nearly enough of. There's all the physical benefits, there's mental benefits and all that, but sports is all about practice and learning to fail and, you know, get back up. Whether it's martial arts or tennis, running, any sport, you know, you're not going to win all the time. You're going to learn to fail, and you're going to learn that, you know, okay, I'm doing this, but I can get better, and how to improve, and learning to practice and applying this concept that you can apply other ways. I was talking with a very successful entrepreneur yesterday who had been a very good high school athlete, not quite good enough for college, but he took the mindset of athletics and applied it to his business. And so he uses the term entrepreneur-athlete, and that makes a ton of sense because that's exactly the same thing. I took that athletic mindset to apply to my business. But, you know, game time is not practice time, as my friends say. So you take that concept of working on the details and repetition and improvement and looking at the game tape after the fact to improve and looking at new strategies and new plays to be able to bring into what it is that you do. And having that same sort of concept is one of the things that can allow people to be really successful.
You mentioned your book is all about consistency. Someone that's struggling to stay consistent with pretty much any day-to-day thing that's going to improve their lives. Could you speak on that? What could they do to improve their consistency?
So one of the things that I loved when I read James Clear's Atomic Habits is that he talks about the minimal amount that you can do. So when I'm talking with people who are struggling with mental illness, we talk about the minimal that you can do. So, you know, eating, you know, really healthy food and all that is the, you know, the goal overall. But if all you can do is eat a Pop-Tart that day, that's better than not eating. You know, if the goal, we want to get you out running every day, you know, doing a couple of miles, physical health and all that. But if all we can do is get you out of bed and get a shower and get you to like leave your apartment for a couple of minutes, so be it. If that's the best that we can do that day, you still did something. I have a phrase that I use when I'm coaching people in business: no goose eggs.
What's that
And
mean?
we need to apply this same concept to ourselves, whether it's our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health, what have you, is even if you do just a little, you still have done something and you can help keep the momentum going. You're not going as fast. You might not have that 1% improvement that day. You might only have a 1/100th of a percent improvement, or you might just be maintaining, but you're not going backwards. So doing the minimal thing. And so that could be putting your running shoes next to your bed so you trip over them in the morning. You're like, I might as well put them on and, you know, go around the block. You go around the block once, and then that turns into a 3-mile jog. But if you don't put the shoes on, that's not going to happen at all. So in Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about habit stacking, setting things up. So A leads to B leads to C. We all get up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, my habit stack, not at the moment because I'm dealing with an injury that I'm recovering from, so I'm not allowed to run, is I would get up, I would go grab my cup of coffee that was ready to go, and I turn on the coffee pot because I prepped the coffee pot the night before so that I could save time. I'd sit down, I'd brain dump out whatever's in my head. Then I would read for a couple of minutes. I'm reading my book every single day. Even though I wrote it, I still go through it every single day. Right now, I'm also reading Daily Laws by Robert Greene. So I read those two things, and then I would go and I would run for 20 minutes every single morning. That's my stack. Sit down, write, read, run. Come back, write some more, because when you do physical activity, your brain lights up and actually you're at your most productive. And I'm very much a morning person. So I would do that. Then I would go do my Taekwondo. Then I would read and write a little bit more. Then I would shower up and be ready to go for my day. So by like 6 o'clock in the morning, I've actually done more production than most people do in an entire day. But it's that little thing. You have your triggering event, whether it's coming to the office or getting up in the morning, or you come home from work. And then you need to stack a couple of habits around it that are good behaviors that reinforce and move you along towards whatever your goal is.
Also, I'd like to add a thing. Environment is a big thing. If you want to start reading more, place books in areas where you see often in your house, your bedroom, your living room.
Got
and
one
you
over here.
read.
I got one here on my desk in another room.
There
I
you
got
go.
one.
It works. It works.
That's nudge theory, basically. You make it easy to make the good decisions. So you put books where you can just easily pick them up. So by the way, people, put a book in your bathroom. Okay, I call it shiterature. I have a lot of friends who are actually reading my book in the bathroom in the morning. I don't care. They're still reading it. So set the environment up, but also taking things out of the environment. My one friend who just went through rehab for alcohol, we took all of the alcohol out of the house, obviously. He also had these really cool 1950s artwork of like martini glasses and all that. And we took all that too because of the reinforcement. And this guy's name, his actual literal name, is Boozer. He had the vanity license plate. So I made him replace the license plate with something different because we needed to change his identity. We needed to change the environment and the reinforcements and the clues. So removing all those things changes the inputs. And if you change the inputs, you're going to change the outputs. Other things like if you want to lose weight, guess what? Don't have junk food in the house. Buy healthier food. So the default is I'm going to eat the carrot sticks instead of I'm going to eat the potato chips.
That's a great point. Great point. You said you run, and obviously you're 50 years old, aren't you?
I'm 30-20. I refuse to say that.
30-20, same thing. What is training like at such an age? Because obviously you're not as young as me, and it's probably harder to recover.
Dude, I will run circles around you.
Probably, I bet you would. I bet you would.
But it is because I have built up a continuous tolerance for hard work. And this is one of the things, youth and enthusiasm will always lose to age and treachery, but it is understanding load management and experience. So I know, okay, I'm not going to run an 8-minute mile anymore, but I can go and I can be able to do 50 miles in a day because I know this is run time, this is walk time, this is recover, doing this. And so just like being able to learn an instrument, you get better over time. You get better at getting better over time. So you learn as a elder athlete, let's say, okay, I should not do this because this is going to push me past my limit on this. But I know what my limits are. I know, okay, that's just pain. That's not injury. Right now I have injury. So if I run, I could break my ankle, and that's on the list of bad things because then I can't run for 6 months. But I know, oh, that's just a little injury. I can get through this. Hey, I've pushed through harder things. So you have these mental and emotional reserves from going to it. So you're like, all right, I've done this before. I can do this again. And you learn to listen to your body and understand your body, combined with the fact that the practice over time compounds, so you expand your limit. So for example, as a martial artist, I still do the same technique that I learned, most basic offensive technique, or horse stance center punch, that I learned almost 40 years ago. I do that technique at least 100 times every morning, each hand. In my life, I have thrown over 10 million punches. So one, I don't need to think about it. If you apply the Malcolm Gladwell or what my master talked about, if you need to do a technique 10,000 times to master it. I've done this technique 10 million times. So I'm still faster than guys half my age, even though they have youth and enthusiasm and athleticism, and they actually might be physically faster, but I can see what they're going to do before they do. So this is where experience comes from. This is why, when Barry Bonds was on all the steroids, he was able to hit 72 home runs because he had 10,000 at-bats at that point. So he had the experience and the recognition but his body was able to perform like a 27-year-old because of the chemical enhancement. So if you can have that experience and be able to see what's going to happen, it's not necessarily through science, but it just comes from experience and reading it, combined with doing your daily activity so you don't slip. And I don't train as hard as I did when I was 28 years old and trying to make the Olympic squad because I don't have the time. I can't get up and work out an hour and a half in the morning, work a 15-hour day, and then go work out for 2 hours afterwards. I have kids, I've got an ex-wife, I've got my businesses. Last night I left the office at 11 p.m. Okay, I was at the office before 7 a.m.
Wow.
Okay, I was here today before 7 a.m. my time, and today's going to be a short day. It's only 14 hours. Okay, so now when I first started in business, could I work that hard that long? No, because I'm not used to it. But you build up, just like everything. Experience and consistent effort will make you excellent over time.
Great. As you told me before, you have ADHD. How do you get
Yep.
into a deep work flow and work so many hours without, I don't know, doing something else?
Well, that's one of the things is I understand myself. So when you learn how you function, how you work, which is something that you should be figuring out in your teens and 20s, and then tweaking from that point forward. So for example, I know I've got incredibly high energy levels in the morning. So that's when I do the most important creative work, the most emotionally draining stuff. I attack it in the morning, right? So because that's when my energy level is highest. Other things are, for example, I know that I can't do focused writing for more than about 25 minutes at a pop. So if I'm writing, what I'll do is I'll turn off all the distractions. So if I don't need the internet for research, I turn the internet off. I might have music, might not, or whatever. I go into a different room where there's no distractions sometimes, and I set an alarm on my phone, and it's called the Pomodoro method. So I will just focus on that one thing for 20, 25 minutes. Then I'll get up, I'll walk around, get the blood flowing, distract myself, and I might switch gears, and instead of writing at that point, I might do something else, or I might go back to writing. I can only do about 3 cycles of 25 minutes of hardcore writing at a pop before I have to do something else. So it's understanding this load management associated with it. And the other thing is that there are some things that require deep focus and no distractions, like, for example, this conversation. My phone's on airplane mode, so literally nobody in the world can reach me. The doors are closed. So this is all that is important to me during this time period. I've done everything possible to remove the distractions. Even this recording setup is designed to minimize the distractions. Then when we're done with this, I'm going to go on in and I'm going to be playing some music. I'll have a podcast going that I'm listening to. I'll be doing some research associated with something and sending emails to people. And so I can multitask for that half hour afterwards and accomplish all the different things on my little list for the day. So when I'm driving into the office, I'm driving, but I'm also listening to like an audio book, or I'm talking to a client if it's during a time when they're awake or what have you. When I'm cooking dinner with the kids, I'm supervising homework. We'll have an audio book or a podcast going in the background. So it's understanding when you can multitask and when you need to do the deep focus work and allocating tasks the appropriate way. And when it comes to understanding what you need, I mean, on my computer, typically I have like 20 different browsers open. There's circus music playing someplace, just like everybody else with ADHD. But to make sure that I don't get overwhelmed, to make sure that I can focus on things, I have a saying: 1 minute of planning prevents an hour worth of work. 1 minute of strategizing will create over an hour a day for you because you know what you need to do. You're not trying to figure it out. So I literally sit down and I take an index card. I spend a couple of minutes at the start of the day when the coffee's brewing in the office and the computer's getting turned on and all that. And I write down the couple of most important things that are not on the calendar for me to achieve that day. So, today I need to finish writing a support piece. I need to burn a quick YouTube video. I need to follow up with a couple people. So those are on the list. As I accomplish them, I cross them off.
That's
When I'm
great.
done, I go all David Letterman, throw in the thing. But that way I know I've accomplished the most important things to move myself ahead over. And hopefully I get through this list by lunchtime, and then I can sit down and reevaluate, refocus, and put together the secondary list. And by doing that, I'm able to accomplish literally 3 or 4 times in a day what I should be able to accomplish, because it allows me to allocate the resources. I also have very low switching friction. I can go from literally recording this podcast, turn it off, walk into the next room in 5 seconds, be on a completely different task using a different part of my brain. And so there's very little slippage. Other people need to ramp up, so they might need a slightly different approach. But this is one of the advantages of being ADHD, is this capability of switching.